This was an absolute disaster. While the Dallas Mavericks are officially in their offseason, it's time for the end of the season press conferences, and today Nico Harrison had his. No more hiding in the tunnels, dodging interviews, not talking to the press. Nico Harrison actually talked to the media, and not just in secret, it was in public, in front of everybody. In fact, it was actually broadcasted on several publications. But in that press conference with the media, Nico Harrison was hit with a lot of tough questions, and he gave a lot of dumb answers. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the key moments from that press conferences, what was Nico Harrison saying to these questions, and whether or not Mavericks fans should be worried about the future of this organization. But how's it going, everybody? My name is Marcel Martin. This is Mavs Digest, bringing you the latest news on everything Mavericks related. And before we get started with today's video, we're currently sitting at 20,397 subscribers. We are officially in the off season, but it's not my off season. As you know, I'm still going to be cranking out all that Mavericks media, all that Mavericks content that you love and hold dear. So go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on a single thing that we do. But the Dallas Mavericks have had a pretty up and down season. Some would argue more down than up, and it was all at the hands of one Nico Harrison. And even before the trade, the Dallas Mavericks were dealing with their own bad luck when it came to injuries and health. We were sliding up and down the power standings in the West, trying to see where we can land, try to make a playoff run. And of course, come February 1st, there was a trade for Luka Dončić for Anthony Davis. It really did change everything. We got more injured. We tried to make it in the play-in. We failed in the second round. And here we are. But we finally got word from Nico Harrison. And about a week ago, last week actually, there was a weird secret meeting amongst Nico Harrison and select members of the media. It was a private roundtable discussion that they're labeling it, but it sounded like Nico Harrison just wanted to talk to a few members of the media, and it sounds like he didn't even want to do it. He was made to do it, as he's been dodging questions ever since the trade deadline. But today we finally got our first public interview since the last one he had, which I want to say was against the Rockets when AD got hurt. So this is the first official press conference since everything went down, and the media did not hold back asking Nico all the tough questions that needed to be asked. Shout out to Isaac of Locked On Mavs, who flat out asked, "Why shouldn't you get fired?" Which was my highlight of the entire press conference. But without further ado, let's go on into it. Like I said, it was reported that the Dallas Mavericks GM, Nico Harrison, is set to have a press conference with Dallas local media today at 1 p.m. We're going to follow the string of tweets from Noah Weber. He was live tweeting it. So the first thing that we're going to look at right here, Nico Harrison's opening remark. Saying he said that defense wins championships, something we have heard time and time again this season. Apparently that is like our new team motto: defense wins championships. Well, I think health also wins championships, but he said that defense wins championships, said that Dallas has one of the best front courts in the NBA, and thanked Dallas staff as well as kid staff. He said that this year's draft is deep and that they think they'll land a good player. So, not to just be biased and dogpile on Nico, although that is the easiest thing to do, and that's something that we all really want to do, let's actually break that down. First, with the draft. Yes, this is a very deep draft. We actually just got word right before I recorded this video that we have the 11th best odds to get the number 1 seed. 11th best odds out of 14 other teams, but still better than the 12th best odds. We had a whole coin flip and we actually won, so our odds improved by about 0.5%. But it is a deep draft, so whether we get the number 1 pick or the 10th pick, the 9th pick, the Dallas Mavericks will be in a nice situation, a nice spot to draft a player that can definitely help us, whether that be the short term or in the long term. We also understand that, yes, we have some of the best front court rotations in the NBA. When you look at Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Derrick Lively, and Kai Jones, if we end up keeping him, that's a very, very good front court that a lot of teams will have problems with when we are fully healthy. When we are fully healthy, of course, defense wins championships. Sure, for sure, definitely. But so does health. Health definitely wins championships. And I'm not going to argue that defense wins championships, but Nico, I don't think you really have built a championship team yet, so I'm not sure if you know exactly what it takes to win a championship. We got really close last year, but apparently that wasn't good enough. You changed up everything. But not to just dogpile on Nico. Some of the things that he did say did hold a little merit. Yes, defense wins championships. He wants to thank the medical staff. I'm sorry, the entire Dallas staff as well as kid staff. Sure. And he said that this year's draft is deep. So those things are true. But continuing with some of the things that he said, Nico Harrison refused to answer if he believes Luka Doncic is a championship player, since he is no longer on the team, but rather briefly talked about Dallas potentially being a championship team. And of course, your GM isn't going to come flat out say, yes, the guy I trade away is a championship level player, and that this Dallas Mavericks team is not a championship contending team. No GM, no good GM should say that, and you could argue if Nico Harrison is a good GM or not. I bet a lot of you would say no, because he traded away Luka Doncic. But to say that, not to answer whether or not Luka Doncic is a championship player after just making it to the championship, to make it to the finals, is very odd, but I understand he's not on the team anymore. We can't flat out say, yeah, the guy I traded away, championship player, but I don't need him. Obviously, you're going to say things that align with you, the moves that you make, your ideals, your viewpoint. I get it. It's just not something that a lot of people want to hear, because a lot of us did believe that Luka Doncic is a championship player. He was getting to that point. He was only 25 when we traded him, so obviously we had time to get there. You assembled this entire team around him to help him and help the team get to where we needed to go, just to tear it all down in February. So anyway, to continue with this horrible press conference, Nico Harrison says he didn't quite know what level Luka Doncic was important to the fans. He seems to have known he was important, but not this important. This part right here was probably the biggest slap in the face in the entire press conference. Nico Harrison says he didn't quite know what level Luka Doncic was when it came to how important he was to the fans. But I'm pretty sure when you're seeing all types of coverage on the news, online, everywhere, of fans pulling up to the American Airlines Center, bringing out a full casket, throwing down their Luka jerseys like it was a memorial for him, protesting. I was also at the protest. I was on the news. I'm yelling with the fans. Yeah, and I think that's the number one issue in all of this. It's not just Nico, but it's the fact that we have a GM that does not understand this organization. Whoever gets hired after Nico, you may want to do your homework. You may want to learn up on what it means to be a Maverick, on what this organization means to the fans and the people of the city, as well as what do these players mean to the fans and the people of the city, to make sure you continue to do what's best for them. Now, if Nico really did believe that Luka had to be traded and everyone agreed on it, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. However, Nico apparently didn't know how important he was, so all this backlash is very surprising. Sure, totally. The number one guy that has helped this team ever since Dirk retired wasn't that important. The number one guy who helped this team get to the playoffs year over year, as well as go to the finals last year. You didn't think the fans would be this upset? They'd probably be mad, but they wouldn't chant fire Nico every game. They wouldn't run me from my seat to the tunnel every game. Whether he's lying or he's downplaying it, regardless on where you stand on his response, it's a pretty stupid response to think that the fans would not react as harshly as they did react to the best player on the team being traded for an older player. No disrespect to Anthony Davis, you're just not Luka Doncic. But yeah, this was the dumbest part of this entire press conference, but it doesn't stop there. Nico Harrison says that Jason Kidd didn't know about the trade until the 11th hour because his obligation is to coach the team, and he didn't want to distract them. So for a lot of people, and again, take this with a grain of salt, whether you want to believe it or not, we can only go off of what's being reported from people with credibility and sources. So with this, I will believe, and I've believed it from the start, that Jason Kidd had nothing to do with this. He wasn't involved in the decision-making. There was a report that came out a while ago highlighting how, yes, Jason Kidd was frustrated with Luka. He was frustrated with how things were going in certain regards to his development and his play on the court, but that doesn't mean you want the guy gone, that you want to trade away Luka Doncic. Jason Kidd knew how important Luka was to this team. The entire schemes of offense, defense was centered around Luka Doncic. As a coach, his job is to coach the team. Yes, Nico, you are right. But if you take away what I'm trying to build, you're making it that much harder. Now, props to Jason Kidd for still being able to coach after the trade deadline. And yeah, we were the 10th seed. It wasn't that pretty. However, it could have been a lot worse, as we were very close to forfeiting games due to all these injuries, and we still found ways to somehow win some of those very tough games. So Jason Kidd, yes, he didn't know anything about it. He wasn't told anything until it was actually about to go down, and by then, there was nothing that he could do. And I wouldn't be surprised if the same goes for Kyrie Irving, who was in Cleveland when this was going on, and then at the 11th hour, we all found out. So yes, so I do believe this to be true, that Jason Kidd didn't know about the trade until the 11th hour because his obligation is to coach the team, and he didn't want to distract him. But if you're going to trade away a key player, you may want to let the coach know, hey, we're going to trade Luka, and you're going to have to change your entire offense and defensive schemes. Are you okay with that? This was a move that Nico wanted to do out of pure ego, self-indulging of his own ego, or the fact that he just really hated Luka. Regardless, he didn't want too many people involved. But just continuing, Nico Harrison thinks that the team they have now is a championship caliber team. They just need to get healthy. He fully expects Kyrie to return this summer. And we're going to have to go back on that last part. He fully expects Kyrie Irving to return this summer, is very, very hopeful. There were reports saying that could be a full year. Some are saying January. I really don't think he meant that Kyrie Irving will be back and practicing over the summer. But if he is, I mean, that's great news for us, I guess, just as long as he's not returning too soon. But Nico Harrison saying that he thinks that the team they have now is a championship caliber team. They just need to get healthy. Well, yes, that is something that we've all been saying. I've been saying it, that this team on paper is very, very good. We saw what they did against Houston when AD made his debut in the first 2.5 quarters before he went down. Yes, this team is amazing when fully healthy. The problem is you have people that are responsible for keeping the team healthy that aren't qualified to keep the team healthy. We have been the #1 most impacted team due to injuries. And it's probably because you have the wrong people in charge to take care of our players' health. How can we see how good we are healthy if you can't keep the team healthy? Yes, some injuries, you can't really prevent them. They happen on the court. The staff can't just run out and stop Kyrie from landing weird or from Gafford from getting hit. That can't happen. I get that. But the training staff, the medical staff that are responsible for the progression and return to play, how much time do they need to miss? How do they recover while they're out so when they come back, they're better than ever? That is what is important. That is what is important of our training staff and the conditioning staff to make sure these guys can last as long as possible through a long 82-game season plus the playoffs. So yes, we have a championship caliber team when healthy, but you got to make sure they stay healthy, and you can't just hope that luck will be on your side and they stay healthy. As luck on our side this year? Absolutely not. But yeah, we're getting close to wrapping it up. One of the last things that was said was Nico Harrison says he has never spoken ill of Luka Doncic and just wants to move on. Yeah, I bet he does. I bet Nico Harrison really does want to move on from all this, especially when you walk into the arena that you're in charge of pretty much, and you just hear fire Nico every single game, even the away games, even places that aren't the American Airlines Center, like medieval times or at a soccer game in Dallas or a baseball game. You're hearing people chant fire Nico. Yeah, I too would want to move on if everybody was wanting me fired. But that's what happens when you make unfavorable decisions. And this is the part where he said he hasn't spoken ill about Luka Doncic. Maybe not publicly, maybe not directly, but it's not like he's been saying anything good about Luka either. But the absolute last thing we're going to talk about is this right here. Nico Harrison is not worried about the Luka Doncic trade affecting their ability to land future free agents for the way they traded Doncic behind his back. And that is just a flat out lie. After that trade that literally rocked the entire sports world, where even today, 2 months later, we're still talking about it, and I'm pretty sure for the next year to more years to come, we're still going to talk about it, will affect the way that we get free agents. Will it be impossible? Will nobody want to come here and everybody want to request a trade and you have to sell the team? No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to be that dramatic, but it will be harder. We may have to overpay players to either get them to come here in free agency or just to retain the players that we do have. It may prevent us from getting players that could really help this team win it all. Because who wants to go somewhere where they just trade away their best player and you're worried that if you're there and you don't know if I'm playing good, if I'm playing bad, will I get traded? Does defense really win championships? Who knows? So in my personal opinion, I think this free agency will be very telling on how favorable this trade really was to other players in the NBA. If they're really taking notice, does that actually take into account whether or not they want to come to Dallas? We're going to see. I think we're going to have a very lackluster free agency. I don't think we're going to get any big name players, probably a few smaller contract players that just need somewhere to go and no one else is offering them a contract. Sure, we'll probably get those guys. But anybody of noticeable talent that could really take this team over the edge, I have my doubts about that. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that we can still get free agents? Do you believe in what Nico said as far as defense wins championships and no one really knew about this until the 11th hour? It was all me. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. We'd have a conversation about it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for making this far to the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. Consider becoming a channel member. We're doing giveaways every single month on this channel. Only way to enter our giveaways is to become a channel member of any tier. But till next time, y'all take care. Drink water. Peace.